Little alien girl ate scraps like a dog, but one human saw a princess. Instead, the night on the alien outpost was quiet, but not peaceful. Wind carried the smell of smoke and metal. Broken machines lay scattered on the streets, reminders of a war that had ended long ago. Most humans walked with heavy boots, laughing, drinking, and throwing scraps of food to the ground. Commander Ryan was on his usual patrol. He was a soldier, strong and tall, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. But unlike others, Ryan was not laughing. He was not drinking. He was tired. War had taken many things from him, and he had no heart for cruelty. As he turned into a dark alley, he stopped. His eyes caught a movement near the trash bins. At first, he thought it was an animal, something small and dirty, digging for food. But then he froze. It was not an animal. It was a child. She was tiny, thin like bones wrapped in skin. Her hair was silver white, tangled and dirty, hanging over her face. Her skin was blue, glowing faintly under the dim streetlight. She crouched low, almost like a wild dog, clutching a rotten piece of bread with her small hands. Her lips were cracked, her eyes wide, shining like stars but filled with hunger and fear. Ryan watched her tear the bread with sharp, quick bites, like she had forgotten what it meant to eat slowly. The sound of chewing echoed in the silence, and Ryan felt his chest grow heavy. Around him, 2 other soldiers walked past and noticed the girl. They laughed. "Look at that thing," one said. "Eating like a dog, disgusting creature." They threw a half-eaten sandwich at her. The girl flinched like she expected a stone. She grabbed the sandwich fast, stuffing it into her mouth before anyone could take it. Ryan did not laugh. He did not move. He only stared at her. Something inside him whispered that this was not just a starving child. There was something more, in the way her eyes shone, something fragile yet powerful hidden beneath the dirt. The girl looked up suddenly and their eyes met. For a moment, time stopped. Ryan saw fear, but behind the fear he saw pain. He saw loneliness. And deep, deep inside, he saw something else. Dignity. He stepped forward slowly. "Hey, it's okay," he said softly. His voice was gentle, like speaking to a wounded bird. The girl growled, low and broken, hugging the sandwich close to her chest. She pressed her back against the cold wall, ready to run. Ryan stopped. He did not want to scare her. Carefully, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small packet of food he carried on duty. It was fresh, warm, a soldier's ration. He bent down and placed it on the ground between them. "I'm not going to hurt you," he whispered. "Eat. It's yours." The girl did not trust him. Her eyes narrowed. She shook her head quickly, but the smell of the food was strong, and her stomach betrayed her with a loud growl. She glanced at the packet again and again, torn between fear and hunger. Ryan did not push her. He stayed still, his hand open, showing no weapon, no threat. After a long moment, the girl crawled forward slowly like an animal testing a trap. She snatched the food from the ground and retreated fast, ripping it open with her teeth. She ate in silence, never taking her eyes off him. Ryan felt a strange ache in his heart. He had seen hunger before. He had seen beggars, prisoners, and orphans, but this was different. This was not just a lost child. Something about her posture, the way she held herself even while dirty and weak. It was as if she once belonged to a place far higher, far nobler. The other soldiers had left. Their laughter fading away. The alley was silent again, except for the sound of the girl eating. Ryan spoke quietly. "You don't belong here, do you?" The girl froze, crumbs falling from her mouth. She looked at him, her wide, glowing eyes full of questions, full of secrets she could not say. For the first time, Ryan smiled, not out of joy but out of recognition. He did not know who she was, but he knew one thing for certain. She was not what the others thought. In that broken alley, with scraps of food in her hands, she looked like a beggar. But Ryan saw something different. He saw a spark of royalty. He saw a child forced to crawl in the dirt but meant to walk on golden floors, and in that moment he made a silent promise. I will not look at you as a dog. I will see you as what you truly are, a princess. The girl blinked, confused by his kindness. She hugged the food closer, but her eyes softened just a little. For the first time in her broken life, she felt a hand reaching for her. Not to hurt, not to use, but to protect. The night carried on, but nothing was the same. For Commander Ryan, the war was not about soldiers or guns anymore. It was about this small, fragile girl who ate scraps in the shadows. The story had just begun. Commander Ryan could not forget the girl's eyes. They stayed in his mind long after his patrol ended. Most soldiers forgot what they saw in the alleys: beggars, broken machines, dying animals. But Ryan remembered. Those glowing eyes were not just hungry, they were alive. They held a story, a secret. The next night, Ryan returned to the same alley. The city was full of noise, drunken soldiers shouting traitors and engines humming in the distance. But in that corner, near the trash bins, silence waited. And there she was. The little alien girl crouched again, eating scraps someone had thrown away. Her hands were dirty, her knees scraped. She looked weaker than before, but still her eyes shone in the darkness. Ryan stepped forward slowly. "It's me," he whispered, as if she might remember his voice. The girl froze. She clutched her food tighter, pressing it against her chest. Her body shook, ready to run. Ryan stopped at a safe distance. He lowered himself to the ground, sitting cross-legged so he wouldn't look threatening. From his pack, he pulled out another ration. He placed it gently on the ground between them. "I brought this for you," he said. His voice was calm, steady, patient. The girl's breathing was fast. She stared at the packet like it was a dangerous trap. Then, slowly, she crawled forward, her silver hair falling into her face. She grabbed the food quickly and retreated to her corner. Her eyes never left him. Ryan did not move. He only watched as she tore the packet open and ate in small, careful bites this time, not wild like before. He noticed something. She was trying to act calmer in front of him, even though she was still scared. "Good," Ryan whispered. "Eat, slowly. It's yours. No one will take it from you." The girl paused for a moment, confused by his words, then continued eating. Minutes passed in silence. Ryan knew better than to rush. Trust was like fragile glass. Once broken, it could not be fixed. So he simply stayed there, letting her see that he meant no harm. Finally, when the packet was empty, the girl licked her fingers and looked at him. Her lips parted as if she wanted to say something, but no sound came out. Ryan smiled gently. "Do you have a name?" he asked. The girl tilted her head, unsure. Then she shook it slowly. Her eyes lowered in shame. Ryan's heart tightened. Child with no name, or perhaps one she had forgotten. He decided not to push. "That's okay," he said softly. "Maybe one day you'll tell me." The girl blinked, staring at him with a strange look. No one had ever spoken to her like this. To others, she was just scrap girl, a dirty creature to mock or ignore. But this human, he looked at her differently. For a moment, the world around them faded, the noise, the soldiers, the broken city. There was only Ryan and the girl. Then heavy boots approached. Two soldiers came down the alley, laughing. They stopped when they saw Ryan sitting near the child. "What's this?" one sneered. "Commander feeding the dog again?" The second soldier smirked. "Careful, sir. You'll catch a disease." The girl froze in terror. She pressed herself against the wall, her body shaking. Ryan stood up slowly. His eyes turned cold. "Keep walking," he said in a low voice. The soldiers laughed again but moved on, muttering insults. Their voices faded into the night. Ryan turned back. The girl was curled into a ball, hugging her knees. Her breathing was ragged, her eyes wet with silent tears. Ryan crouched down again, keeping his distance. "Hey, they're gone. You're safe." She did not answer, but her eyes lifted to his face. Something had changed. She had seen him stand, up for her, not against her. For the first time in her small, broken life, someone had protected her. Ryan reached out his hand slowly, palm open. "I won't hurt you," he whispered. The girl stared at his hand for a long time. She did not take it, but she did not run away either, and that was enough. Ryan lowered his hand again, smiling faintly. "It's okay, not today, but one day you'll trust me." The girl's lips trembled. Then very quietly, she whispered, something barely a sound, but Ryan heard it. "Thank you." Ryan froze. The word was soft, broken, and heavy with fear, but it was real. She had spoken. His chest tightened. He wanted to ask more, but he stayed silent, afraid to scare her again. The girl pulled her knees closer, hiding her face. But Ryan saw the smallest hint of a smile, weak, fragile, but real. He knew then that the wall between them had begun to crack. It was small, almost invisible, but it was there. The first step. Ryan stood up slowly. "I'll come back," he said. "And I'll bring more food." The girl peeked at him through her tangled hair. Her eyes followed him as he walked away, his boots echoing on the empty street. For the first time in years, she did not feel completely alone. That night, under the broken stars, a bond had been born, weak, fragile, and uncertain, but alive. The soldier who had lost his faith in war, and the little alien girl who had lost everything. Their story was only beginning. Little alien girl ate scraps like a dog, but one human saw a princess instead. The following days passed in quiet rhythm. Commander Ryan kept returning to the same alley, always carrying food. And every time the little alien girl was there, waiting, though she tried not to show it. At first she ate quickly, never speaking, always keeping her distance. But little by little she changed. She started to eat slower. She started to watch Ryan not with fear, but with curiosity. Sometimes her lips moved as if she wanted to speak, though words rarely came out. Ryan never forced her. He only smiled, spoke gently, and left food behind. Trust, he knew, was not built in a day. One night after giving her food, Ryan stayed longer than usual. The moonlight fell across the alley, and the girl's glowing blue skin shimmered faintly under the pale light. Ryan leaned against the wall, watching her. "You're stronger than you look," he said quietly. The girl glanced up, crumbs on her lips, then looked down again. Ryan tilted his head. "But you don't belong here, do you? Not in the trash, not in the dirt." The girl froze. Her eyes widened as if his words had touched a hidden wound. For a long time she stayed silent. Then, in a small, broken voice, she whispered, "They took everything." Ryan straightened. He had not expected her to answer. "Who took everything?" The girl hugged her knees, her silver hair covering her face. "Soldiers. Humans. After war. My people lost. They killed my family." Ryan's chest tightened. His instincts had been right. She was not just a random beggar child. She carried a story of pain, one buried under hunger and silence. "Your family?" Ryan asked gently. "Who were they?" The girl hesitated. Her glowing eyes lifted, meeting his. There was fear in them, but also pride. "They were rulers," she said softly. "My father, king. My mother, queen. I was, princess." Ryan felt the breath leave his chest. He stared at her, stunned. The little girl, filthy and weak, eating scraps in an alley. She claimed to be a princess. And yet, he believed her. It was not in her words alone, but in the way she spoke them. Even broken, even afraid, she carried herself with a kind of dignity that no child of the streets could fake. Ryan's thoughts raced. If what she said was true, then she was the last of a royal bloodline, the lost heir of a fallen alien empire. And if the wrong people discovered her, they would kill her to erase her name forever. He looked around, lowering his voice. Does anyone else know? The girl shook her head quickly. If they know, they hurt me, so I stay quiet. Ryan's jaw tightened. Soldiers already mocked her. If they ever discovered her true identity, she would not survive. Why didn't you run away? Ryan asked. The girl's eyes filled with tears. Nowhere to go. No one left. Her words stabbed him deeper than a knife. She was alone in the galaxy, a child carrying the blood of kings and queens reduced to eating trash like a starving animal. Ryan knelt down, closer this time. Listen to me, he said firmly. You're not a creature. You're not trash. You are who you say. You are a princess. The girl's lips trembled. No one had ever said those words to her before. For years she had been called scrap, thing, dog, never princess. Hearing it now was like fire in the cold darkness. Her eyes shone with tears, but she nodded weakly. For a moment, Ryan felt hope rise in his chest. But the sound of boots echoed down the street, shattering the fragile peace. 2 soldiers appeared, drunk and laughing. They spotted Ryan and the girl. Well, one jeered. Commander playing daddy again? The other smirked cruelly. That little rat isn't worth your time, sir. We should put her out of her misery. The girl shrank back, shaking with fear. Ryan stood tall, his face hard. Touch her, and you answer to me. The soldiers exchanged a look. They knew Ryan was not a man to challenge lightly. With a curse, they spat on the ground and staggered away. When they were gone, Ryan turned back. The girl was curled into a ball, silent tears running down her cheeks. He crouched low again, his voice gentle. You're safe. As long as I'm here, no one will hurt you. The girl lifted her eyes to his. For the first time, there was no fear in them, only trust. A fragile, glowing trust like a candle in the dark. Ryan reached out slowly, and this time she did not flinch. She placed her small hand in his. The warmth of that moment was more powerful than any weapon, any battle. It was a bond born not of blood but of choice. Ryan looked at her and made a vow in his heart. If the galaxy wants to forget her, I will not. If the galaxy wants her dead, I will keep her alive. If the galaxy sees only a beggar, I will see a princess. And in that alley, under the cold alien stars, a secret truth had been revealed. The girl was not just a nameless creature. She was a princess, the last of her kind, and Ryan was the only one who knew. The bond between Commander Ryan and the alien girl grew stronger with each passing night. He brought her food, fresh water, and even a small blanket. Slowly, the girl stopped eating like a wild animal. She sat when he asked her to sit. She accepted food with her hands, not her teeth. Most of all, she had begun to look at him differently. No longer only with fear, but with trust. A fragile trust as thin as glass, but real. Ryan knew he was walking on dangerous ground. If the other soldiers discovered who she really was, the last princess of a fallen empire, her life would end, in an instant. So he kept her secret close, never speaking of it to anyone. But secrets never stay safe forever. One evening, Ryan was delayed at headquarters. By the time he reached the alley, the sky was already dark. He hurried, his boots echoing on the broken streets until he turned the corner and his heart froze. 3 soldiers were already there. The girl was cornered against the wall. Her eyes were wide with terror. She clutched the blanket Ryan had given her, holding it like a shield. Look at this little rat, one soldier sneered. Always hiding in our trash. Filthy thing. Another soldier kicked the ground near her. She flinched and whimpered. Come on, let's have some fun. Teach it a lesson. The 3rd soldier laughed cruelly. No one cares if this creature dies. She's nothing. Ryan's blood turned to fire. He strode forward, his voice like thunder. Step away from her. The soldiers turned, surprised. Commander? One said, mocking. What are you doing here? I said step away. Ryan growled. His hand rested on the grip of his blaster. The men exchanged uneasy glances. They knew Ryan's reputation. He was not a man to bluff. Still, one smirked and said, Sir, with respect, why protect this thing? It's not worth it. Ryan's eyes blazed. She's under my protection. Touch her, and you'll answer to me. For a moment, silence hung heavy. The soldiers hesitated. Then, muttering curses, they backed away and disappeared into the night. Ryan turned to the girl. She was trembling, tears running down her glowing cheeks. Her small body shook as if she would break apart. Ryan knelt, lowering his weapon. His voice softened. It's okay. They're gone. You're safe. The girl did not speak. She only stared at him with wide, wet eyes, her chest rising and falling fast. Then suddenly she lunged forward and clung to him, burying her face in his chest. Ryan froze. For days she had feared his touch, kept her distance. But now, in her terror, she chose him. Slowly, gently, Ryan wrapped his arms around her. I've got you, he whispered. No one will hurt you while I'm here. Her sobs were soft, broken, but they carried years of pain. He held her until her trembling eased, though her small hand still clung tightly to his uniform as if letting go meant death. That night, Ryan made a decision. The alley was no longer safe. If soldiers had already begun to harass her, it was only a matter of time before someone realized the truth. He had to move her. The girl sat on the ground, hugging the blanket, her eyes still red. Ryan crouched in front of her. Listen to me, he said softly. You can't stay here anymore. They'll come back. Worse will come. Her lips trembled. Where can I go? Ryan thought hard. Taking her into the barracks would be suicide. Hiding her outside the city was impossible without supplies. But there was one place, his own quarters. Risky, yes. If discovered, his career would be over, but it was the only way. You'll come with me, he said finally. The girl's eyes widened. With you? Ryan nodded. Yes. You'll be safe there. I promise. She hesitated, fear and hope fighting inside her. She had lived in fear of humans for so long. But this one had defended her. She searched his face, looking for lies, and found none. At last, she nodded slowly. Ryan waited until the streets were quiet. Then, wrapping the girl in his cloak to hide her glowing skin, he led her through the shadows. Every step felt like danger. A single soldier spotting them could mean disaster. Finally, they reached his quarters. Ryan quickly closed the door behind them, locking it. The room was small but clean, with a bed, a desk, and shelves lined with supplies. The girl looked around with wide eyes. It was the first time she had stepped into a place that was not filled with trash or dirt. Ryan set down food on the table. From now on, you'll eat here, no more scraps. The girl hesitated, then walked to the table. She touched the chair carefully, as if it were something sacred, and sat. Ryan watched her with a faint smile. She still ate quickly, but not like before. For the first time, she was eating at a table like a person. When she finished, she looked up shyly. Why, you help me? Ryan met her glowing eyes. Because I see you, not what others call you, not what they think. I see who you really are. The girl's lips trembled, then curved into the smallest smile he had ever seen on her face. It was fragile, uncertain, but beautiful, and Ryan knew then that danger had arrived. The world outside would never accept her, but he had made his choice. He would fight it. Ryan's quarters were small, but to the little alien girl they felt like another world. The walls were clean, the floor free of trash, and the air smelled of metal and warmth, not rot and filth. For the first time in her life, she was inside a place where no one spat at her, no one threw stones, and no one called her an animal. Still, she did not relax easily. Her glowing eyes scanned every corner, her small body stiff and ready to flee. When Ryan gave her a pillow and blanket, she curled on the floor instead of the bed, as if she did not dare touch something so soft. Ryan did not force her. He only watched quietly, his heart heavy. She was a princess, yet she slept like a stray dog, curled in fear. The next morning, Ryan left early for duty. When he returned, he found her crouched in the corner, chewing on a crust of bread she had pulled from the trash bin near the kitchen. His chest tightened. She still did not believe the food on his table belonged to her. He walked slowly, careful not to startle her. "That's old food," he said gently. "You don't need to eat that anymore." The girl froze, her face pale with shame. She dropped the bread and lowered her head. Ryan knelt in front of her. He placed a fresh plate of food on the floor between them. "This is yours. Always. You don't need to steal. You don't need to hide. Do you understand?" Her eyes flickered, uncertain. Slowly, she reached for the plate. This time she ate sitting on the floor, but not like before. She took smaller bites, her hands shaking less. Ryan smiled faintly. It was progress, small but real. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, the girl changed. She began to eat at the table when Ryan invited her. She even touched the bed once, then sat on it carefully, like testing if it was real. At night, Ryan would sit at his desk, polishing his weapons or writing reports, while she curled under the blanket, her glowing eyes watching him until sleep took her. Trust was growing, step by fragile step. One evening after dinner, Ryan noticed her staring at the fork in her hand. She tapped it against the table, then looked at him curiously. "What is this?" she asked softly. Ryan blinked. It was only a fork, but to her it was strange and new. "That's for eating. You use it to hold food. Like this." He picked up his own fork and showed her. She tried, clumsy at first, dropping pieces, but she laughed, a small broken laugh that filled the room with light. Ryan froze. He had never heard her laugh before. In that moment he did not see the starving girl from the alley. He saw a child who had been robbed of her childhood, now, learning simple joys again. But danger never stayed far. One night, loud knocks shook the door. Ryan tensed, signaling the girl to stay quiet. He opened the door slightly and saw 2 soldiers. "Commander," one said, "we heard rumors. People say you've been hiding something in here." Ryan's pulse quickened. "Rumors are false," he said firmly. The soldier smirked. "Mind if we check?" Ryan stepped into the doorway, blocking it with his body. His voice turned cold. "You don't have clearance." The men hesitated. Ryan's rank gave him power, and his glare gave them fear. After a tense pause, they muttered curses and left. Ryan shut the door quickly. He turned to the girl. She had hidden under the bed, shaking like a leaf. He crouched low, lifting the blanket. "It's okay," he whispered. "They're gone." Her glowing eyes stared at him, full of terror. Slowly, she crawled out. Ryan pulled her close, his voice steady. "You're safe with me. No one will take you." The girl's small hands clutched his uniform. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I trust you." Ryan's chest tightened. It was the first time she had spoken those words. The following days she began to act differently. She no longer crouched like an animal. She sat upright, copying Ryan's posture. She tried new words, repeating what he said, her voice still soft but growing stronger. One evening, Ryan returned late and found her waiting at the table. The plate was already set, food placed neatly on it. "You come home," she said shyly. "So I wait." Ryan stared, stunned. His throat tightened. She was learning not just trust, but care. In her glowing eyes, he no longer saw only pain. He saw hope. But Ryan knew time was running out. Rumors were spreading. Soldiers whispered about a creature in the commander's room. The walls of safety were closing in. Yet as he watched the little girl smile for the first time as he heard her laugh and speak, Ryan made a silent vow. No matter the risk, no matter the cost, he would protect her. She was not a beggar. She was not a creature. She was a princess, and he would make her believe it again. The days in Ryan's quarters passed quietly, but underneath that silence, a storm was growing. The girl was changing. She no longer crouched like a wild animal. She ate at the table, sometimes clumsy, sometimes graceful. She no longer hid in corners but sat near the window, staring at the stars as if they called her name. Her eyes glowed brighter each night, their light soft but steady, like fire refusing to die. Ryan noticed these changes, but he did not speak of them. He only encouraged her, letting her learn at her own pace. Yet in his heart, he knew she was not only healing. Something inside her was awakening. One night the alarm sirens wailed across the outpost. Red lights flashed and soldiers shouted outside Ryan's quarters. Ryan grabbed his blaster and stood, ready. The girl froze by the window, fear flashing across her face. "What's happening?" she whispered. Ryan checked the communicator. "Raiders," he muttered. "Pirates are attacking the outer gates. Stay here. Do not move." He rushed to the door, but before he could leave, a blast shook the building. The window shattered and smoke poured into the room. The girl screamed, covering her ears. Ryan turned back instantly. "Stay down!" But then something happened. The girl's fear turned into something else, something powerful. Her glowing eyes blazed brighter than ever, flooding the room with light. The air crackled around her and the smoke seemed to swirl away as if pushed by invisible hands. Ryan froze, staring. What are you doing?" The girl's small body trembled, but her voice rose with strength he had never heard before. "I don't want to be afraid anymore." The air shimmered. A faint shield of energy formed around her, protecting her from falling debris. Her silver hair lifted in the current of unseen power. Ryan's chest tightened. This was no trick. This was royal bloodline energy, an ancient gift carried only by the rulers of her people. The girl collapsed to her knees, panting, her glow fading. Ryan rushed forward, catching her before she hit the ground. Her voice was weak but clear. "My father had told me I would have this power, but I thought it died with him." Ryan held her close, his mind racing. It was true. She was not just a princess in name. She was heir to a legacy of power, a power the humans would fear, a power that could spark war if discovered, and now that secret was no longer hidden. The door burst open. 2 soldiers rushed in, weapons drawn. "Commander, did you see that light?" "What?" Their eyes landed on the girl, still glowing faintly in Ryan's arms. Their expressions hardened. Ryan stood quickly, blocking their view. "It was an energy surge from the raid," he snapped. "Get back to your posts." The soldiers hesitated. "Sir, that didn't look like—" "Now!" Ryan roared. Startled, they obeyed, retreating down the hall. The door slammed shut behind them. Ryan turned back to the girl. She was shaking, her small hands gripping his uniform. "They'll kill me," she whispered. "If they know." Ryan cupped her face gently, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Listen to me. They won't touch you. Not while I breathe." Tears welled in her glowing eyes. "Why? Why do you care so much?" Ryan's voice softened. "Because I see you. Not just a girl, not just a princess. I see someone who deserves to live." Her lips trembled. Slowly, she leaned against his chest, closing her eyes. For the first time, she looked peaceful, even with fear around her. But Ryan knew peace would not last. Already, whispers were spreading through the base. Soldiers muttered about strange lights, about a creature with hidden power. The wrong ears would soon hear. That night, Ryan sat awake watching the girl sleep. Her silver hair glowed faintly in the dark, her small frame curled beneath the blanket. She looked fragile, breakable. Yet inside her was a force that could change the galaxy. He thought of her words. "They'll kill me." And he made a decision. He would not wait for danger to come. He would take her away. Somewhere safe. Somewhere she could live, not just survive. The next morning, Ryan began to prepare. He gathered supplies, food, water, maps, stolen access codes. Every move was a risk, but every delay was worse. The girl watched him silently. Finally, she asked, "Where are we going?" Ryan looked at her, his jaw firm, away from here to freedom. Her eyes widened. "With you?" He nodded. "Always with me." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then the girl smiled, the first true smile he had ever seen on her face. Bright, innocent, and filled with hope. Ryan felt his heart tighten. She was no longer only the girl from the alley. She was becoming something greater, a princess who would rise again. And he, a soldier who had lost everything, had found a purpose. Outside, the outpost roared with chaos. Soldiers marched, alarms blared, and rumors spread like fire. But inside Ryan's quarters, a decision had been made. The girl's power had been revealed. The galaxy would come for her. But Ryan would be there, not as her soldier, not as her jailer, but as her protector, and together they would run into the unknown. The night was darker than usual. Clouds covered the moons, and the outpost was alive with restless noise. Boots on metal floors, orders shouted, alarms still ringing after the raid. Soldiers were everywhere, their voices sharp, their eyes searching. Ryan moved quickly through the shadows, his cloak wrapped tightly around the small girl at his side. Every step was a risk. Every corner felt like a trap. But he kept his hand steady on her shoulder, guiding her forward. The girl's heart pounded. She had never left the safety of his quarters before. Now every sound made her tremble. Yet when she looked at Ryan's face, calm and fierce in the dim light, she found courage. "Where are we going?" she whispered. "To the docks," Ryan answered. "There's a transport ship leaving at dawn. If we can reach it, we'll be free." Free. The word was strange on her lips. For years, she had been nothing but a shadow in alleys, a beggar child, a forgotten princess. Now, she dared to imagine something else. They moved silently, but danger came fast. At the edge of the barracks, 3 soldiers blocked their path. Their eyes narrowed when they saw Ryan, and suspicion filled their voices. "Commander," one said, "out at this hour? And what's that you're hiding?" Ryan's grip tightened on the girl's shoulder. He stepped forward, his body shielding her. "Stand aside," he ordered. But the soldiers did not move. One leaned closer, catching a faint glow beneath Ryan's cloak. His eyes widened. "Wait, that's the creature. The one from the alleys." The girl gasped softly. Ryan knew the truth had slipped too far to hide. "Call the captain," one soldier shouted. In seconds, more boots thundered in the distance. The outpost was waking up, and the walls of safety were closing. Ryan drew his blaster, his voice sharp as steel. "No one touches her. Do you hear me? She's under my protection." The soldiers froze, startled. No one had ever heard Ryan speak with such fire. But then the captain arrived, a tall man with cruel eyes and a cold smile. "So it's true," the captain said. "The commander hides a monster, a glowing rat. You disappoint me, Ryan." "She's not a monster," Ryan growled. The captain laughed. "Not a monster? She's dangerous. She carries power that should have died with her people. If we let her live, she could spark rebellion. Hand her over." The girl clung to Ryan's cloak, her small hands shaking. "Ryan," she whispered. Ryan stepped forward, standing tall. His voice thundered across the courtyard. "She is not a rat, not a dog, not a monster. She is a child. She is a princess, and I will not let you harm her." The soldiers murmured, stunned. No one had ever defied the captain like this. The captain's smile faded into rage. "Then you are a traitor." He raised his weapon. "Both of you will die." The girl's eyes glowed bright, brighter than ever before. She stepped from Ryan's cloak, trembling but brave. Her voice rang clear. "I am not nothing," she said. "I am the daughter of kings. You tried to erase me, but I am still here." The air shimmered around her. Energy rippled through the courtyard, pushing soldiers back. The captain staggered, fear flashing in his eyes. Ryan stood beside her, his blaster ready. "See her for who she is," he said fiercely. Not a beggar, not a slave, a princess, and if you strike her, you'll strike me first. The soldiers hesitated. Some lowered their weapons, uncertain. They saw not just a frightened girl, but a child of power standing tall beside a human who refused to bow. The captain screamed in rage. "She dies now!" He raised his weapon, but Ryan fired first. The shot echoed. The captain fell, his weapon clattering to the ground. Silence filled the courtyard. Ryan's breath came hard. He looked at the girl. Her glowing eyes were wide, with shock but also filled with something new, hope. They did not wait. Ryan grabbed her hand and together they ran through the chaos. Soldiers did not follow. Some turned away. Others whispered, "A princess. She lives." By dawn, they reached the docks. The transport ship's engines roared, ready to leave. Ryan lifted the girl aboard, his chest burning with exhaustion but his spirit unbroken. As the ship lifted, into the sky, the outpost shrinking behind them, the girl leaned against Ryan's side. Her small hand clutched his tightly. "Why did you do this?" she asked softly. "You could have left me. Saved yourself." Ryan looked at her, his eyes steady. "Because when I saw you in that alley, I didn't see a creature. I saw who you truly were. I saw a princess." Tears filled her glowing eyes, but this time, they were not tears of fear. They were tears of hope. Ryan wrapped his arm around her shoulders. "You're not alone anymore. As long as I live, no one will treat you like dirt again." The girl closed her eyes, leaning into him. For the first time, she felt safe. For the first time, she believed her father's words, that she was more than what the world called her. And in the silence of the rising ship, a new story began, not of a beggar girl in the alleys, not of a forgotten child, but of a princess, and the human who saw her when no one else would.